Elizabeth Holmes was just 19 years old when she dropped out of Stanford University in 2003. She had one idea, one dream: to revolutionize healthcare industry. She claimed she had developed a groundbreaking device that could run hundreds of blood tests with just a single drop of blood. No needles, no big vials, just one small prick of the finger. The idea was revolutionary. It promised to make blood testing faster, cheaper, and more accessible to millions. People suffering from conditions like cancer and diabetes would no longer have to endure painful blood draws or wait days for results. Instead, they would have instant, accurate diagnosis from a simple device. With this vision, Holmes launched her company, Theranos. The name was a combination of therapy and diagnosis. From the very start, she positioned herself as once-in-a-generation genius, the female Steve Jobs, someone who would change the world forever. Holmes wasn't just selling a product, she was selling a dream, a world where anyone would check their health in minutes. Anytime, anywhere. Investors saw the potential and they poured in money. She convinced some of the most powerful people in America to back her. Billionaires, investors, politicians, even military officials were drawn in by her charisma and confidence. She raised over $700 million from people like former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, media mogul Rupert Murdoch, and former Secretary of Defense James Mattis. Theranos quickly became one of the hottest startups in Silicon Valley. By 2014, the company was valued at $9 billion. Elizabeth Holmes became the youngest self-made female billionaire in the world with a net worth of $4.5 billion. She appeared on magazine covers, spoke at conferences, and rubbed shoulders with some of the most influential figures in the world. People compared her to Steve Jobs. She even started dressing like him, wearing black turtlenecks, speaking in a deep, commanding voice, and presenting herself as a visionary who would change the world. But there was one major problem. Theranos had built its reputation on a bold claim: that its technology could accurately run hundreds of tests using just a tiny amount of blood. But inside the company, employees knew the truth. The technology didn't work. The machine, called the Edison, was completely unreliable. Instead of developing real technology, Holmes and her team were faking the results. When patients came in from blood tests, Theranos secretly used traditional lab machines from other companies while claiming their technology was doing good. This wasn't just fraud, it was dangerous. People were getting false results. Some were told they had serious illness like cancer or diabetes when they didn't. Others, who were actually sick, received false negatives, meaning they wouldn't seek treatment until it was too late. But Holmes refused to admit failure. Instead, she doubled down on the lie. Whenever employees raised concerns, Holmes fired them. She created a culture of secrecy and fear. Employees were spied on, threatened with lawsuits, and banned from speaking to each other about their work. One of her top scientists, Ian Gibbons, was so devastated by the lies that he took his own life in 2013, but even that didn't stop Holmes. She continued promoting Theranos as the future of healthcare. She partnered with Walgreens and Safeway, promising to bring her blood testing devices to thousands of stores across America. Millions of people would soon have access to Theranos tests. But behind the scenes, employees knew the machine didn't work, the company was falling apart. And then, someone decided to speak up. A young employee named Tyler Schultz, the grandson of former Secretary of State George Schultz, started noticing the fraud. He leaked information to a journalist named John Carreiro, from the Wall Street Journal. At first, Holmes tried to silence him. She hired lawyers to threaten and intimidate him, but Tyler refused to back down. In 2015, Carrero published a bombshell investigation exposing the truth: Theranos was a scam. Investors panicked. Walgreens and Safeway pulled out of their deals. Patients started filing lawsuits. Holmes still tried to fight back. She claimed the Wall Street Journal was lying. She went on TV and doubled down on her story, but the evidence was undeniable. The government started investigating, and soon the empire she built began to collapse. In 2016, Theranos was shut down. The company that was once valued at $9 billion was now worth nothing. Holmes was charged with fraud by the US government in 2018. The charges were severe: wire fraud, conspiracy to defraud investors, and endangering patients. She faced up to 20 years in prison. During her trial, Holmes played the victim. She claimed she never intended to deceive anyone. She blamed her former business partner and ex-boyfriend, Ramesh Sani Balwani, for the fraud. But the jury didn't believe her. In 2022, Elizabeth Holmes was found guilty and sentenced to 11 years in prison. Her empire was destroyed. Investors lost billions. Walgreens, Safeway, and other companies had been fooled. But the biggest victims were the patients, the people who trusted Theranos with their health. The Theranos scandal wasn't just a financial fraud, it was a medical fraud that put real lives at risk. How did Holmes get away with it for so long? Because she knew how to manipulate people. She targeted powerful older men who didn't understand the science but were impressed by her confidence. She used Silicon Valley's obsession with disruptive technology to sell an impossible dream. But in the end, science doesn't care about charisma. The truth came out, and the world saw Holmes for what she really was: a fraudster. Even after everything, some people still defend her. They say she was just a young entrepreneur who got in over her head. Others say she was a dangerous liar who risked lives for money and fame. What do you think? Was Elizabeth Holmes a misunderstood genius, or was she one of the most dangerous con artists in modern history? Let me know in the comments, and if you like this story, make sure to subscribe for more insane financial crime stories.